My take is that the Tampa Bay Bucs are complete frauds. It's over. Don't get suckered.
I tried. I tried.
You did. I'm speaking for myself, and I am speaking to myself and maybe to some of you out there. Don't get suckered into thinking the NFC is wide open at any point in the next month. And don't get suckered into thinking, well, they still have Tom Brady. They still have some talented pieces, yada, yada, yada. Anybody can make a run. You only have to win a few games. No, that game on Sunday was a pathetic performance by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on so many levels. They had about 400 opportunities to put that game away against the Browns. They failed to produce a single point on their final 7 possessions against a defense that ranks 30th in DVOA. So that's one thing. The offense, listen, we've had 12 weeks of the offense. They're 22nd in EPA per drive. They're below average by any metric you want to look at. Now they lose Tristan Wirfs, their right tackle, to a high ankle sprain for at least a month or so. It looks like that offense is not getting fixed. That's number one. But what really got to me, irked me about this game was some of the worst clock management you will see in an NFL game. Okay. I've mentioned this before on the show. I feel like I've done a good job, but I've taken a break from going this, down this path for like a month or so. But when I see something so egregious, I can't help myself. I just gotta let it out. So here's the deal. I don't understand why coaches, they sleep in their offices. They don't see their families.
Exactly.
They neglect everybody in their lives.
What are you spending time doing, man?
To put together game plans. And if we watch one more reel of film here, maybe we'll pick up on a tendency that'll help us in a key spot. But you know what? Then it gets to clock management. And some of these coaches, they don't prepare at all. They pay no attention. What am I talking about if you missed the game? The Tampa Bay Bucs get the ball at their own 25 with 32 seconds left and 3 timeouts in a tie game. The game is tied at 17. They throw a screen on first down. They gain a yard. They don't call timeout. The announcers are saying, why aren't they calling timeout? You're sitting on your couch saying, why don't they call timeout? You're watching the game. You're watching Red Zone. What is going on? Why are they not calling timeout? They just call another play. Guess what? Tom Brady finds Julio Jones for 26 yards. Oh, that's good. Maybe you can get into field goal range. Wait, what? You didn't call timeout. There's only 8 seconds left. You only have time to run one more play to get into field goal range to potentially kick the game-winning field goal. They throw incomplete. You go to overtime and you lose the game. I mean, that in and of itself is an absolute disaster, whether it's Tom Brady, whether it's Todd Bowles, whether it's Byron Leftwich, whether it's the combination of the three. I mean, I don't understand how Tom Brady could have played this many games and doesn't just take control in his own hands. I mean, I always refer to the Kansas City Chiefs. People ask, oh, Andy Reid's gotten better in game management. I go, I don't know if that's the case. I know Patrick Mahomes in those situations just takes over and kind of is in full control of what's happening. So that didn't happen with Tom Brady. And remember, we just saw 3 weeks ago, this team went 60 yards in 35 seconds with no timeouts and scored a game-winning touchdown against the Rams. They literally just had to do something like this 3 weeks ago. But in that situation, they needed to score a touchdown. There was no overtime. Here, they claim up. They play conservative because they want to play for like a 50-50 chance. In overtime, Todd Bowles gets asked about it today. He says, well, we could have thrown an interception. Tom Brady has thrown 2 interceptions on 470 pass attempts this year.
0.4%.
Yes. Hat tip to Greg Alman, who was, I first saw mention that on Twitter. A 0.4% risk. You're taking the ball out of the hands of the greatest quarterback we have ever seen play. And you feel better about going to overtime. So that annoyed me. They punted on 4th and 2 from the Cleveland 37. They punted on 4th and 3 from midfield. I hated everything about what I saw from the Bucs. It was a performance that made me say, I'm not even thinking about this team in terms of a sleeper, in terms of a team that can even win a couple games in the playoffs. They'll probably get in because the NFC South stinks, but I am done with this team. The Tampa Bay Bucs are complete frauds. If next week we want to talk about whether Tom Brady's going to play elsewhere next year, whether he's going to retire or what they're going to do, I'm happy to do that because I have no more time for the 2022 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Frauds.
Did you bring up the fact that before they even had that drive, they get the 4th down stop against the Browns and don't take the timeout and let the Browns take 40 more seconds off the clock, right? Like they just the word that comes to mind when I think of this Bucs coaching staff, it's after the game I said that I can't recall a time in which a coaching staff collectively did more to ensure their team didn't win the game than the Buccaneers did against the Browns. Which, like, that sounds dramatic, but in games in which a coaching staff actively makes the team lose, like, we tend to think of the Mike McCarthy against the 49ers quarterback draw thing, where it's like one play, I could very clearly see how this lost the game, bang. Cumulative, over the course of 60 minutes, the way they weren't able to run the football after running it wonderfully on the first drive against the Browns defense on whom everybody has run the football, unacceptable. The way that they continue to live on just, okay, Mike Evans verticals, and there's no variety in their passing game. We're at week 12, right? Like the broadcast was giving Byron Leftwich flowers for being like, well, we looked at our team and realized we're a little bit better with our gap runs than we are with our zone runs. So we're going to call a little more gap. It's late November, Chief. You don't get flowers for this. Clock's been ticking. You got to figure this stuff out much faster. The word that comes to mind is calcified. Todd Bowles and Byron Leftwich are positive that they understand football, and they've been positive since 2008, and they haven't updated. Right? It's floppy disk mentality, right? Like the Todd Bowles with the interception, like Tom might have thrown a pick, is such classic. When you pass the football, 3 things can happen, and 2 of them can be bad. Right? That old coaching adage. Anytime you make any decision on a football field, a good or a bad thing can happen. There is not a single victory formation. And even then, you got to get the snap right. Is the only play where there's no alternative. So the unwillingness to update approaches to the game relative to the talent you have, the talent you don't have, the talent you're missing. Tristan Wirfs goes out and you leave the stone cold left tackle on an island against Myles Garrett on the ensuing play. The unwillingness to update and to change the approach relative to talent you have, talent you don't, and to a changing league where, sure, Tom could throw a pick, but every other team in this context, from freaking Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes down to like Mike White, are letting their quarterbacks throw in this context. We are in a different era. You have to decide to update the way you think about ball. Like the 1st and 10 runs into play action pass. Perfect example. Somebody like football coaches decided in the 2000s you had to run to set up the play action. And then over the course of the last 10 years of football, we've seen everybody just run more play action year after year and find success with it when the running game is good, when it's bad, when they establish it, when they don't establish it. And Byron Leftwich every single week sits at the presser and goes, EPA? They ain't never heard of EPA. You have to run the ball to run play action. And then they just bang their head into the same wall. They're calcified. They've decided how football works. And then they put on blinders for the last 15 years. And it's very disappointing because both of them, Leftwich on offense and Bowles on defense, do really cool things. They're good coaches. Their players are well coached. They understand their scheme. They execute well. It's just if you just updated the software, you'd be in the modern era and you'd win a lot more football games. Very, very disappointing coaching staff. Bruce Arians stepped away, and so many of the holes that he was covering up in this coach in this coaching room in Tampa Bay became exposed to the sunlight, and it's very sad to see.
And Bruce Arians was not good with clock management and game management. I mean, he famously, once I believe threw the challenge flag, even though he knew it was the wrong call, just because he felt like he needed to, it was like an irrational, angry thing to do. I mean, that's why I thought moving to Bowles, could be an upgrade, because that was one area where they weren't very good. And Brady's got to take some responsibility too. I mean, Brady didn't play well in this game. And for a guy, he's 45 years old, you would think in those situations, he would just be able to take over. It's just a matter of giving all the things you do to put yourself in a position to win a football game, and then to make decisions that are this egregious in the heat of the moment, and then to give bad explanations afterwards. You're not helping your players. You're not helping your team. You're not helping yourself win these games. And again, that was just one game, and that was just one aspect of it. Everything about this team pretty much annoys me at this point, but this was the week where I felt like I really had to get it off my chest.